I heard from this, and well, I'm glad that I have an article talking about this because this is from Mexico. Again, a really big fuck up. So, in case you don't know, you have this program where Cuba, in quote unquote, I think at this point I don't know if they are actually real, that they actually educate medical personnel and export said service to other countries. Brazil was in that program until they got that down, and because Cuba said something about a disagreement within the Bolsonaro government. But well, the doctors didn't want to go back to Cuba for obvious reasons, and then they offered the same kind of program to Mexico. Mexico agreed, and there is a lot of shit that went here. National Institution of Transparency of Mexico accused the Cuban dictatorship of taking the 94% of the salaries of doctors taken to the country by López Obrador because, well, they offered houses, and there is something more into this. Mexico gave 10 point what 10.700 dollars to the Cuban regime. So 10 million, uh, 10 million dollars. So, come on, I don't know. I don't know how they phrase that to the Cuba for each one. Okay, so a salary of $10,700 to one of the for each medic doctor and nurse hired to confront the pandemic. Also, yeah, they were hired by the Corona Chan pandemic. So in a recent report, it was revealed that the Cuban dictatorship was actually charging insane salaries for the exportation of doctors in Mexico, generating controversy and questions about the transparency in which accords happened. Ah, imagine having a useless institution just to tell you, yeah, there was no transparency. I know, right? I fucking know. Oh, shit. The Mexican commissioner Julieta del Rio Venegas accused the Cuban regime of retaining the 94.4% of the total salary of these professionals sent it to Mexico. So yeah, they took their money. That's why I fucking hate communism. It was expected. So according to the National Institution of Transparency, access of information and personal data protection in Mexico during the Corona Chan pandemic, the government of López Obrador paid the Cuban regime around 10 $10,700 for each doctor and specialist that went to the country. This pay was generated questions about the clarity of the financial process. Well, you paid a lot. Look at this shit. I want to clarify this. Mexico doctors are underpaid by a mile. It's just fucking corruption at that point. That yeah, they are underpaid. But well, a government said, "Oh yeah, but just because of the pandemic, I'm going to give you this money," and they did this agreement with a communist country. But well, that that's a big salary, and it's not a joke. for each doctor and specialist is just fucking insane amount of money. Jesus Christ. But I'm going to show you something more stupid even enough when it comes to that. You have this article from 2022. The Cuban dictatorship sent to Mexico soldiers, military personnel in place of doctors because they feared desertions. So the ONG prisoners defenders explain that they have proofs that the 60 doctors, the 60 of the 500 that I mentioned in the previous articles, that went to Nayarit, they are now specialists. So Mexico is letting everyone in. It's a very stupid decision. I don't need to fucking explain that. But to letting a government with their whole military army, with their army, do what they want in your country, well, at this point, why need to explain that? Yeah, they're fucking traitors for their own for fuck's sake. They're fucking traitors. It's it's the most obvious conclusion. In a press conference, of Mexico City, La Rondo explained that 660 Cuban doctors that went last month to Nayarit were actually members of the Cuban militia. And pointed out there is no conclusive proof that if they really are doctors. There is no evidence if they are doctors. According to testimony of dissident doctors, actually obtained by prisoners' defenders, the Cuban government did not send their actual specialists to the brigades because of fear of losing them. If you go back to a history, if you go to the if you go back to the Berlin Wall, it, they to this day they keep gaslighting people that yeah the wall was because people not letting them in. No, it was they didn't want people to live in. It was because they don't want them to believe in. And then now Cuba did a extra step. So that's it. You have the cartels. You have now Mara Salvatrucha in a state of Mexico, in Celaya. You have fucking commies, Venezuelan communists roaming the country. Mexico is doing things far worse when it comes to actually protecting the border. It's going to backfire in the face. But that's it. That's pretty much everything I needed to say here. I hope you have everyone who watched this video a pretty good